Hunting for smart contract bugs can be a ludicrously well-paying job if done right. And it saves the ecosystem from being hacked. I've had the luxury of being able to interview a developer who found a $7 billion bug and was paid $2.2 million for reporting it. In this video, we're gonna go over what was the exploit that he found, how it could have drained $7 billion from the Polygon ecosystem right at the Genesis block, the most important strategies and tools you can use to find your $1 million bounty, and finally, we'll wrap up with a challenge that myself and Immunefi are gonna give to you, so be sure to stay for that. So let's get froggy. On May 31st, 2020, the Matic blockchain went live, and eventually would be branded as the Polygon chain. Polygon is an EVM-compatible blockchain known for its cheap gas fees, short block times, and as of recent, it has been entering into ZK technology. Now, if you go to block 0, the absolute first block in the blockchain, you'll see 10 transactions in the Genesis block. And in one of these transactions, they created a contract called the MRC20 contract. Now, what is this contract? Now, we all know to send ETH or native blockchain token on a blockchain, we're gonna have to spend something called gas. So the Polygon team deployed this contract, which had the ability for someone to sign a transaction without sending it, allowing them to offset the gas costs to somebody else. This is known as a meta transaction, and you can learn more in EIP 7.12. As you can see, right at the Genesis block, this contract was given almost 10 billion Matic to initialize the contract and facilitate these gasless transactions. However, this clever contract had a hidden exploit that could drain the entire contract. And on December 3rd of 2021, almost 1.5 years after the Genesis block, our hero, Leon Spacewalker, submits his exploit report to Immunefi, laying out exactly how someone could exploit this contract. A second hero, who we'll call White Hat 2, also submitted a report a day later. And during this time that reports were coming in, another person found this vulnerability, but this person was a hacker and ended up stealing 800,000 Matic tokens from this contract. And then on December 5th, just 2 days after the initial report went in, Polygon was forked, the contract fixed, and as of December 5th, 2021, that vulnerability was no longer in the MRC20 contract. So this, of course, leaves some questions. What was the exploit? How did it stay dormant for so long? And what was the fix? The function that facilitated these gasless transactions is here. At first glance, it seems harmless. It takes the signature of the user, how much to send, any data, an expiration, and then who to send the money to. It runs some requires, it gets the data hash in order to send the meta transaction and make sure the data hash hasn't been used, and then does this EC recovery function. This function is essentially a wrapper for a globally available Solidity function called EC recover, which is how we can verify where a signed transaction is coming from. But wait, what's this? If there's an error, it just returns the 0 address. It doesn't revert. Now there is a check to actually make sure that this doesn't return 0. However, the ECR recovery function copied this and still returns 0 on an error. Okay, well surely we'll check to make sure that this function returns a valid address, right? And not the 0 address. Oh, looks like that line was forgotten. Well, no worries. The last line of transfer from here probably does some check, right? Well, here's the transfer function. Well, the transfer function actually calls this function that you're seeing now, the transfer function. And you'll notice here, when it calls the transfer, it doesn't check to make sure the from address has enough money. It just transfers the money out of the MRC20 contract. So to hack this, you just pass in any bad signature to get the 0 from address, pick any amount, send it to whoever, and then you could get essentially that entire Matic balance. So what's odd to me is that this bug was dormant for about 1.5 years. And within the span of a few days, a number of people uncovered it. I ended up asking the Immunefi team about this, and they said that this is actually a pretty common occurrence. There's a lot of bugs that stay dormant for a long time. And then some article or news outlet will release a new popular bug, and people will start finding that everywhere. Or maybe there's more to the story. But maybe not. But for us, one of the major learnings we can take away from this is how Leon managed to find this bug, disclose it, get his payout, and the tips and tricks he used to find this and many other security vulnerabilities. These tips assume you already know most of the Solidity and smart contract fundamentals. So yes, learning Solidity is a prerequisite to being a bug bounty hunter. And if you want to become a bug bounty hunter, be sure to stick around to the end where we're going to issue a challenge just for you. Let's get more froggy. Leon's biggest advice and takeaway for anybody else looking to get into the space is to find your edge. Find the thing that gives you the advantage over other smart contract developers, bug hunters, and protocols. But what does he mean by find your edge? He usually means figure out a strategy that works for you. And he categorized 4 different approaches to finding these bugs. Number 1, find a project and search for bugs in it. This is the most common way to find bugs, and anybody who's looking to get into this space should try this strategy for themselves first. The way you find bugs with this is you know every inch of the protocol. Read the docs, try to implement the protocol yourself, etc. If you know every inch of the protocol, you'll sure know the bugs too. Now, Leon said that this strategy actually works for other hunters, but not for him. He focused on the next 3 strategies. Find a bug and search for projects. An easier approach to finding bugs is to find a bug that not a lot of people know about and look for projects that have that bug. That way, when you're looking through a project, you're only looking for one specific lump of code, making it potentially easier to find for you. Now, this strategy takes a lot of researching. You first need to understand all the different exploits and their advanced versions as well. You need to be aware of their best practices that haven't been considered. This is the continue to research and grow strategy, and I think everyone should continue to research and grow anyways. Become an expert on this specific bug and make sure that no smart contracts have this implemented anywhere. And if they do, that's when you can write your report. Number 3, be fast with new updates. We need to protect each other in this space, but we also need to do it quickly. Projects have to sign up for bug bounties to do a payout, and you want to be one of the first ones to find these new bounties and updates. Now, there are a few ways to be fast, and one of the tools that Leon actually used to get updates before others was having notifications for the Immunefi Discord BBP updates turned on. This channel pings you anytime a new project comes in, but also pings you when one of these projects changes its scope, adds a new contract, or adds a piece of information that other bug hunties and other hackers maybe haven't found yet. And it was this strategy that is exactly what Leon used to find this bug before anybody else. Number 4, be creative with finding your edge. One of the clever things Leon did was he would actually traverse community forums where they would talk about whether or not they might do a bug bounty. He'd then start looking at the smart contracts before they even submitted it for approval. This way, he was able to start digging into code days before any other developer or ethical hacker was able to take a look, giving him an edge. Number 5, know your tooling. Bug hunters use tools like Solidity Visual Developer, Hardhat, Foundry, Brownie, Dune Analytics, Etherscan, and anything else that helps. Typical strategy might be to load up the contract in something like your VS Code and then turn on the Solidity Visual Developer, where it'll start to highlight important pieces of your code. After doing a manual walkthrough or finding any weaknesses, it might be a good idea to start setting up any tests to test this contract. And usually you can reuse a lot of the tests that the original developers wrote in their own GitHub repo. Number 6, don't be afraid of audited projects. Nothing much else to say here. Audit firms up, and many of the projects Leon found vulnerabilities for were actually audited by top firms, using the skills we talked about in this video. Number 7, find your niche. Find specific industry knowledge that only you know. For example, a lot of developers understand code, but don't understand all the financial information for DeFi. Maybe you get incredibly good at decentralized exchanges, borrowing protocols, or even just NFTs. If you can master security and a specific industry in Web3, you'll be positioned to be a golden defender against the hackers for that specific industry. And now you've heard the tips from a successful bug hunter who found a $2.2 million bounty bug. So before we jump off, it's challenge time. Immunefi has agreed to give out swag to the top 10 submitters who submit a bug between now and October 7th. Clock's ticking, not a lot of time. And this includes me. Can you find more bugs than me? All you have to do to be eligible is to submit your bug report and proof of code with the hashtag #chaindev hashtag in your proposal. A huge thanks to Leon and the Immunefi team for all the information for this video. Links to everything we talked about, of course, in the description, and I'll see you next time.